Did you know that you can release stress through tongue speaking? That is the real truth. That is the actual truth. Now, how do you gain more energy? You gain more energy by releasing more stress. Then you gain more joy through your energy. You can. It's hard to have energy, and it's hard to have joy without having energy. If you're real low energy, and then it's hard to have joy. You can gain a certain amount of it through prayer and all, but if you're in a low state due to your stress pulling you down and you're in a low state of energy, it's harder to gain the joy that you need to want to keep praying even. And so it's a necessity to release that stress. And tongue speaking can do that. Now, I'm not saying that tongue speaking is necessary to salvation. And I'm not saying that tongue speaking is necessary to go to heaven. And I'm not saying that you even need to be a member of a church where they are speaking in tongues. All I'm saying is that doing this tongue speaking exercise in your own personal prayer closet can release stress. Also, I want to make it clear that I'm not saying that there's not tongue speaking that happens among cults where there may be a demonic influence, or that there are tongue speaking that sounds like the real thing that is not involved with demons. I'm not saying that. I'm not teaching that at all. I'm just saying the true tongue speaking, which God will lead you if you pray to be able to recognize that true tongue speaking. You have to recognize the true tongue speaking. That tongue speaking will release stress. And now, let me explain to you why that happens. The reason is because you don't understand all of the things that are stressing you. You can say, well, I know I tried to pay this bill and it wouldn't go through, or I had problems with my computer, it broke down, or it lost a file, or I had problems at work, somebody chewed me out. All these things, you can list all these things as it produce stress all through your day, and so you come home with a low state of energy because of all that stress. But you cannot, there are stresses that you cannot list because you simply don't know what they are. And then when you do know what they are, you don't know how to put everything into words. You don't know how to put it. You know that somebody did something, or they looked at me wrong, or something else, but I don't really know how to write. If I wanted to write down what that did to me, I wouldn't know how to do that. But God knows those things, and if you go to God and you say, God, I don't know how to explain what is causing my stress or what is causing my low energy, but I want to talk to you and I want to tell you in some kind of a spiritual language. Lord, you need to give me a spiritual language so that I can explain to these things that there's no English words for. And the longer you look at it, you'll realize that there's a lot of things, things in the area of joy and a lot of things in the area of stress that there's no words for. Believe me, I know that there's joys I want to express on here that I can't even express because there's no words for them. You just have to gain the joy. And it's the same thing about this stress. There's no words to explain all the things that can bother you, maybe bother you about a personality conflict, or bother you about things that you wonder why things didn't go better or couldn't have gone better, or why that you don't sleep like you should that one night, and that makes you feel worse. Sometimes I get stressed out because I wonder why the Lord doesn't just do away with the need of sleep, or do away with having to waste all this time eating and then having to clean up after it and all that. But you need to be able to express to God without necessarily having the English words to express it. And that's where the spiritual language comes into play. And that's what you have to look at as far as tongue speaking, is which one is the spiritual language and which one is just merely gibberish, or just somebody getting all frantic, and somebody getting all into a state of ecstasy, so to speak, the false kind of ecstasy, just getting in a state of frenzy, in other words, or getting into a trance and then just blurting out a bunch of gibberish. You have to understand the difference. This is a high level of joy. This is a joy that you're coming to God with a need that you can't express. And so you just let go. You say, God, I'm going to let go, and I'm just going to let my tongue loose and just let it say everything the best I can, which I cannot say in English. I'm just going to begin to let it flow out of me to you. And then that's where, if you do it right, the tongues begins to flow. And then God understands that language because he understands the soul language and he understands the spiritual language. And so you begin to do that, right? And as you begin to do that, that stress starts lifting because you've told God about all of those possible things that you can't express, but that you know are needs that he needs to meet. And then you start relaxing because you know God has heard you. See, a lot of things that stress us out about life is, you when you talk to people a lot of times, and you'll try to explain to them things, and they'll try to skip ahead of you and say, "I already understand all that. You don't need to explain all that," and yet they don't understand it. They don't understand what you're going through, and so you get that is very stressing when you're trying to communicate something, and a person is already assuming they understand it, and they won't let you go ahead and explain it. And so that can stress you out. But then if you know that, well, I can always go to God and I can express in this spiritual language what I've been going through. And I know that if I drop it there before God's feet, he knows what has been going on and he knows how to deal with it. And so then I can relax and I can call it done, and I can call the answer, I can call it rectified, I can call it healed, I can know I've expressed it, and I know that there's someone there that I can express it to, and I know through the tongue speaking that I have expressed it. And so that's how it releases stress, and that's why it is so valuable, and that's why even psychologists, and I've studied all about this, I understand all about, that's why even psychologists say people that spend a little time every day speaking in tongues are psychologically healthier. And as a result, you can even be healthier in mind, body, and soul by doing that. It's because you know you have a divine being that you can communicate in this spiritual language and express the things that you cannot say in words. And then you feel that expression. See, that's so good. Just like when you're talking to somebody and they say, "Yes, I've gone through that. I understand that. I felt that. I understand that," like an empath. You say, "Oh, that just makes me feel so good because other people actually understand, and it's not just me, but other people have gone through that and they understand it." And so the same thing happens with the tongues. You feel that the burden's been lifted because you've let it flow out. You've let it flow out to someone who understands. And so that makes you so joyful and so happy that sometimes you just have to release your tongue and just start praising God. And then if you start praising God fast enough, it's going to turn into a sort of a tongue-like thing. And that is actually different from speaking in a foreign language. God can actually give you power to speak in a foreign language too, if you're really close enough to God, and you can speak in words that other people understand that you don't understand. But then there's also this glossolalia spiritual language that you speak that only God understands. And so we'll go further into this as time goes on. But I just pray that you will get a lot of joy out of your tongue speaking, and I'll pray that you'll get a lot of joy out of being healed. And I just pray for you now in every way that all your needs be met. Amen and amen and amen.